The moment you set a New Year's resolution, you have already designed your own failure. You haven't failed because you are weak. You failed because the entire model of behavior change you've been taught is backwards. Researchers have proven that 92% of resolutions die before Valentine's Day because people are using a fundamentally broken system. But there is another way, a method so simple it sounds stupid. So small it feels pointless. Yet it's backed by 20 years of Stanford research and creates change that actually lasts. In the next few minutes, you'll discover exactly how it works and why the people you think are disciplined are actually just better at design. "5:47 a.m. January the 2nd. The running shoes are by the door. The water bottle is full. You can feel it, the adrenaline, the certainty. This year is different. Fast forward 30 days. February 3rd. The shoes are collecting dust in the closet. The gym membership has been used 4 times, and you're telling yourself the same lie you told last year. I just didn't want it enough. But you're wrong. You didn't fail because you're weak. You failed because you're fighting human biology. Every December 31st, you set a resolution: lose 30 pounds, go to the gym 5 times a week, read 50 books. And here's the mistake you're making. You're setting an outcome goal and calling it a behavior change plan. You want to lose 30 pounds. That's the outcome. But you haven't designed the behavior that creates that outcome. You've declared a destination without building the vehicle that gets you there. B.J. Fogg spent 20 years studying behavior at Stanford. His finding: outcomes don't create behaviors. Behaviors create outcomes. If you want lasting change, you have to reverse engineer the specific behaviors that produce the result you want. Then you have to make those behaviors so easy, so obvious, so frictionless that they happen even when motivation is zero. Resolutions don't do that. They're wishes dressed up as commitments. Your brain categorizes big, vague goals as threats. You can't see the path from here to there, so your brain does what it always does with threats. It avoids them. This is why you feel incredibly motivated on January 1st and completely resistant by January 8th. The motivation was real, but motivation is an emotion. Emotions fluctuate. When motivation drops, and it always drops, you're left with nothing but the raw difficulty of the behavior. Every decision you make depletes your cognitive bandwidth. By 8 p.m., after making decisions all day, your brain is exhausted. That's when you order takeout instead of cooking. That's when you scroll instead of reading. Not because you lack discipline, because your brain has run out of bandwidth. If your resolution requires constant decision-making, should I go to the gym? Should I skip today? You will lose. Not because you're weak, because biology wins. The resolution fails. You internalize it. You tell yourself you're not disciplined enough. Next December, you set the same resolution, convinced you'll just try harder. But trying harder doesn't solve a design problem. You're using the wrong method. You're aiming at outcomes instead of systems. You're relying on motivation instead of designing for inevitability. What if you made the change so small it couldn't fail? Coming up next, the mechanism that actually creates lasting behavior change, and it has nothing to do with willpower. 2 people, same goal, both want to start exercising. Person A relies on motivation. They go to the gym for an hour. They post it on Instagram. They feel heroic. Person B relies on stupidity. They do 1 push-up, just 1. It takes 3 seconds. It feels ridiculous. It feels pointless. Here's the data. Motivation has a half-life. By day 14, person A is burnt out, exhausted from the commute, the time commitment, the mental negotiation every morning. They skip once, then twice. By February, they've quit. Person B, they're just getting started. Person B hasn't missed a day. Why? Because you can't talk yourself out of a 3-second commitment. January the 2nd, 1 push-up. January 3rd, 1 push-up. January 4th, 1 push-up. Then they think, well, I'm already down here. Might as well do 5. By January 15th, the behavior is automatic. Pour coffee, drop, do push-ups. Some days 5, some days 20, but they never miss. By March, person B has done push-ups 89 consecutive days. The behavior is wired in. And because they've proven they can stick to something, they've added other behaviors. The identity has shifted. I'm someone who moves my body every day. Person A is planning to try again next January. This is the tiny habits method. It works because your brain doesn't resist tiny changes. It barely notices them. You install the behavior without triggering resistance. Once it's installed, once it's automatic, you expand it. But the behavior itself isn't the point. What matters is the identity shift when you prove to yourself you can follow through. Every time you do that 1 push-up, you're casting a vote. I'm someone who keeps commitments. James Clear built a framework around this. Identity-based habits. You're not trying to achieve an outcome. You're trying to become a type of person. You become that person through accumulated evidence. Every small action is evidence. Do it enough times. The evidence becomes undeniable. Resolutions are outcome-focused. Lose 30 pounds. Read 50 books. But outcomes are lagging indicators. They show up months after the behavior changes. You're working hard with no visible progress. Your brain interprets this as, this isn't working. You quit. Tiny habits are identity-focused. Every time you do the behavior, you get immediate feedback. I'm the kind of person who does this. That feedback is instant. It's reinforcing. It builds momentum. And speaking of momentum, if you're finding value here, I would genuinely appreciate your support in building ours. Subscribing and liking the video makes a huge difference for a new channel like this. Thank you for being here. Now here's where behavior design gets precise. Fogg discovered that behavior happens when 3 elements converge: motivation, ability, and a prompt. Remove anyone, the behavior doesn't happen. Most resolutions focus exclusively on motivation, but motivation fluctuates wildly. What you can control: ability and prompts. Make the behavior so easy it requires almost no motivation. Attach it to something that already happens, a reliable prompt. Habit stacking. Take an existing automatic behavior. Attach the new behavior immediately after it. After I pour my coffee, I will do 1 push-up. After I brush my teeth at night, I will read 1 page. The existing behavior becomes the prompt. But the behavior has to be tiny, laughably small, because if it's too hard, you'll skip it when motivation is low. Skipping once makes it easier to skip again. You want to read more. Traditional resolution: read 50 books this year. That's a book a week. I don't have time for that. You never start. Tiny habit: after I get into bed, I will read 1 page. 1 page takes 90 seconds. Night 1, 1 page. Night 2, 1 page. Then you think, this is getting interesting. By week 2, you're reading 10 or 15 pages most nights. By year end, 37 books, without forcing it. Not through dramatic declarations, not through forcing yourself. through designing behaviors so small they bypass resistance, attaching them to reliable prompts, repeating them until they're automatic. But something else determines whether the change lasts. What if the real transformation isn't in what you do, but in who you become? In the next section, how identity determines everything and why becoming is more powerful than achieving. The actions themselves are almost irrelevant. What matters is the identity they reinforce. Every behavior is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. One push-up every morning. That action does almost nothing for your fitness, but it does something profound for your identity. It proves, I'm someone who exercises. I'm someone who keeps commitments. Those proofs accumulate. After 30, 60, 90 days of consistent proof, something shifts. You're not trying to be that person anymore. You are that person. James Clear. The goal is not to read a book, it's to become a reader, not to run a marathon, but to become a runner. The outcome is temporary, the identity is permanent. Someone who identifies as a non-smoker doesn't resist cigarettes. The question doesn't come up. They're not a smoker. That's the level of automaticity we're aiming for. The right behaviors aren't things you force, they're just who you are. But identity doesn't shift through declaration. Your brain needs evidence. Evidence comes from action. Every time you run, even just to the end of the block, you're collecting evidence. After 50 runs, 50 pieces of evidence, at some point, it's overwhelming. You're not pretending. You actually are a runner. Tiny habits build identity. The one push-up doesn't build muscle. It builds identity. And identity, once established, makes every subsequent behavior easier. You have to protect the behavior. Make it non-negotiable. When you start skipping, you're collecting evidence against your new identity. James Clear's rule: never miss twice. Miss one day, that's life. But get back on track the next day. The streak isn't what matters. The identity does. Resolutions are all or nothing. One missed gym session feels like failure. You give up entirely. Tiny habits are about trajectory, not perfection. Even hitting the behavior 80% of the time is still 292 days of evidence. That's enough to fundamentally shift your identity. Now you understand the mechanism, but knowing it and applying it are two different things. So in these final moments, let me show you exactly how to design your first tiny habit. You're going to design one tiny habit, just one. So small, so easy, so obvious you can't fail. First, identify the identity you want to build, not the outcome. Who do you want to become? A writer, a reader, an athlete, an organized person. Second, what's the smallest behavior someone with this identity does? Writers write. Smallest behavior. Write one sentence. Readers read one page. Athletes move. Do one push-up. Make it so small it feels almost pointless. If it feels impressive, it's too big. Third, attach it to an existing behavior. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence. After I brush my teeth at night, I will read one page. Write this down. Make it concrete. Fourth, do it tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Don't expand it yet. Just do this one thing for 30 days. Some days you'll do more. Fine. But the commitment is just the minimum. Protect that commitment like your identity depends on it, because it does. After 30 days, you'll have 30 pieces of evidence. Proof you're someone who keeps commitments. Then you can add a second tiny behavior if you want, but you don't have to. The behavior is already transforming you. This is how you escape the resolution graveyard, not through force, not through willpower. through understanding how behavior works and designing around it. You don't need a bigger goal. You don't need more motivation. You need a better system. Tiny behavior, reliable prompt, consistent repetition, identity shift. What's the one tiny habit you're going to design? What identity are you building? Write it in the comments. Make it public. Make it concrete. If you want more content that shows you how behavior actually works, subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who's tired of failing the same resolutions every year. The resolution graveyard is full. Millions of abandoned commitments. Millions of people convinced they're not disciplined enough. But they were never the problem. The method was the problem. You don't need another resolution. You need a win. So kill the resolution, bury it in the graveyard, and start the tiny habit. One push-up, one page, one sentence. Don't promise to change your life this year. Just prove to yourself that you can change the next 60 seconds, because that's the only place where life actually happens.